we go.
Nailed it.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you very much, guys. Sorry about that.
No worries. I'm happy we're together again.
Worth the wait.
Thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to start again in our introduction for anyone who's just arrived. This is session 2 out of 4 of The Future Is, and it's a collaboration between EcoResolution and Napapijri. And today we're exploring zero waste, what that means, what is a circular economy, what is circular design, and how we can support the shift towards this. My name is Christabel Reed. I'm the founder of EcoResolution, Education for Action platform, which aims to ignite imaginations and empower action to create a world that thrives. And I'm joined by 3 very, very special people today. Josephine Philips, the founder of Sojo, the UK's first clothing alterations and repairs app, which is really cool and really exciting and much needed. Eshita Kabra-Davies, the founder of By Rotation, the social fashion rental platform, and Aedy, a documentary photographer, filmmaker, activist, and the co-founder of Earthrise, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. And Aedy is also Napapijri's host for this series of Instagram Lives, which is great. And we're talking about zero waste and circular economies because we have a huge global waste crisis. 99%, that's enough, of the stuff that we buy is trashed within the first 6 months of having it. And this contributes to a massive 2.12 billion tons of waste every year. And this is expected to rise 70% by 2050. And then if we zoom into the fashion industry, 73% of 53 million tons of garments produced every year end up in landfill. And only 1% of garments are actually recycled. And do bear with me when I go through these scary facts. I'm contextualizing the beauty of what what our guests are going to be talking about today. The CO2 emitted by the industry is more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. And crucially, the impact of this ecological devastation impacts those least responsible and those most marginalized from access to the spheres which have created and indeed perpetuate this kind of production and economy. So this is an ecological and a social justice crisis. But the good news is that, and what we're exploring today, is that this can be transformed, and indeed it is being transformed through imagination, through creativity, through innovation, by learning from nature, replicating nature's cycles, shifting from linear economies to a circular economy. So linear is like you take materials out of the ground, you create something, and then they disappear, you stop using them. In a circular economy, you take materials, hopefully ones that have already been taken out of the ground, and you create something with a design where it fits into a circular design, so the value maintains there and you're able to continue to have a regenerative, positive feedback loop. So enough from me, but I hope you're with me. Just it's important for us to really understand actually the huge scale of what we're facing, so that we can all really become impassioned by the exciting solutions. So wonderful guests, I'd love to hear a bit about, what you do, what you're about, and what shifting towards zero waste or circular economies means to you. Josephine, could you kick us off, and then Eshita, and then Alice?
Yes, of course. So as you mentioned, I'm the founder of Sojo, which is an app for clothing alterations and repairs. And I think the key aspect there, and sort of what zero waste means to me and what it means to my business, is really the repair side of things, in which we're essentially stopping things from going into the bin, which is when something is damaged, which is a really, really common way for things to get thrown away. When a zip is broken or when there's a huge rip, it's the first port of call within our culture is to put it in the bin. And I think what we want to do is make it really easy, totally easy to basically repair it so that it's just as good as new and you can keep loving it for longer. But I also really just want to say as well that the alteration side is also quite a zero waste aspect, because tailoring clothing to you is creating a new connection with your clothes. It's making sure it fits your exact shape, and also it sort of makes your clothing dynamic, in as much as if you change body shape, you can tailor the clothes to you. So that's really also about keeping clothes out of landfill so that you can love them for a lifetime, even if you change body or anything like that. So that's what it means to me. And I think it's really, really important that we're sort of marrying sustainability and zero waste with convenience. And that's what Sojo is hoping to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Over to you, Eshita.
Yeah, to me, the buy rotation, we're a social network connecting lenders and renters with each other, thereby, to share and borrow. So kind of like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, if you guys remember that movie. Really being able to, still wear new, even though it's not a new item that you've bought for yourself. Actually, the experience of wearing something that's different. So it's really about the sharing economy for us. This is an economy that's valued at about 350 billion by 2025. And, we've seen with cars, we've seen this happening with apartments, houses. It just makes that a lot of sense, I guess, for it to now come to fashion, because fashion is one of the most polluting in the world. And today we're all wearing clothes. We're all wearing fashion clothes. So that's something that, we're kind of thinking about, from buy rotation perspective, really fix the consumption side of the overconsumption.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much. So exciting. And Alice, tell us a bit about you and what shifting towards zero waste and circular economies means.
Yeah, so I'm a filmmaker and has led me to many places, but in recent years, front lines of climate change. And I guess what that did was made me realize how intersectional an issue climate change is. That's led me to climate activism, seeing what I have firsthand on these front lines has made me really passionate about climate justice. And that's a kind of reframing of understanding change, yes, of course, as a crisis, of course, as a biodiversity crisis, but also as a social justice crisis. I'm really passionate about human stories, and I think human stories need to be part of all our storytelling. And I think that's also to this conversation about waste. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about fast fashion here today, but our toxic relationship with fashion goes far deeper than just a relentless need for new clothes. It's also about how we view our position in the world and on this planet. We are resources existing on this planet as if we had another one to go. And I guess where I'm from as an activist or something that I think about is the distinction between our individual responsibility and corporate responsibility. So we absolutely have individual responsibility. We should all be doing everything that we can to reduce our waste. But there is a limit to what we can do as individuals. And so it becomes about encouraging and holding corporations to account. And how does this link to storytelling, which to me, I think is at the heart of all this? How can we tell better stories? There is in part a total crisis of waste, as you said, Christabel, because we are so disconnected from the people who are involved in the supply chains, the people who make clothes, the textiles, the garments themselves, the materials that are used. I think corporations do have a big responsibility because in a way they have been creating stories. They have been creating cultures that disconnect us from the reality of what's happening around. I'll use one example. I recently traveled to the Amazon to film an incredible young activist called Nina Gwalinga, an indigenous activist. When we are wearing a summer dress, I don't think we think about the fact that, many of our clothes are made from oil and from violent extractivism. And so the same issues that I see her fighting on the ground, I'm so disconnected from that reality when it comes to the clothes we wear. So I think, yes, we need to be really realistic about the facts that you outlined, Christabel, but there's also a lot of opportunity here to do things better, do things differently. We need incredible alternatives.
Oh, beautiful. Well, so inspiring. Thank you. And leading on from what Alice was just sharing about the importance of the stories and storytelling, I feel that there's been such a big narrative, especially as I was growing up, about this idea that you don't wear clothes once, and that kind of the height of sophistication is to wear one kind of outfit and then toss it, or not toss it, but never wear it again, like in Clueless or something like that, which was seen as very cool in my school growing up. Josephine, I'd love to hear about some of the ways that you believe we can reimagine our relationship with how we consume clothes and fashion, and our relationship with fashion and the clothes that we wear.
Yeah, I think I really resonated with what Alice said when it came to sort of stories and humanizing fashion, because for me, I really think that that's where everything changed. I think when it's about making consumers change the way they consume fashion or changing their relationship with fashion, it kind of starts with education, because for me, it was like, once you know about it, you can't go back and you can't turn a blind eye to it. And I think realizing there's someone on the end of it who is probably, you know, a woman of color, or, you know, realizing that communities are being destroyed by whatever item you want to buy from whatever fast fashion retailer, and connecting yourself in the West on whatever high street, in whatever shop, to those people, and making people realize that it's about those humans, and about those women, and making it a feminist issue, and making it, you know, really, really personalizing it, because you can really believe in feminism and be like, woo, yeah, intersectional feminist, and then be completely partaking in fast fashion. I think that connection and that bridge is really important to make, and it's what really moved me into the space. But also, kind of like I touched on earlier, I also think about the fact that if we want people to reimagine consumption and reimagine their relationship with clothing and reimagine sort of sustainable fashion, we have to make it really easy and equally affordable, because I think quite often sustainability is completely married with something that's less convenient and more expensive. And fundamentally, like, there is a newsagent's on my street, and that's not a zero waste food store. And if I wanted to go to one, you know, I'm traveling over a mile, you know, it just makes it harder and it's more expensive. So I think really tapping into the whole convenience aspect and price aspect, and making sure that sustainability is that option for people, then there's sort of like no option to say no. It's like exactly the same price and convenience, but it's better for the people and the planet. And I think that will really help people to rethink the way they consume and what they consume. So sort of trying to tap into both those things is really important. And just bringing it slightly back to Sojo, like, one thing that we do is we show which seamster is altering your clothing or repairing your clothing. We show a picture of them, and we do a little backstory saying, you know, Steve has been doing it for 40 years. He learned when he was 15 from his brother, you know, that type of thing, because then you're connected to the person who is actually doing your clothing. And that is, it's kind of emotive, and I think it's really important. And, you know, you're supporting local community, and I just think that bringing the humans into it is so important, because capitalism completely eradicates them. And I think just bringing it back to that. So I really resonated with what Alice said, and hopefully maybe I've just repeated it in different words, but yeah, that I think is really the key to helping people.
Totally. And I think I love what you speak about, like, humanizing fashion and like rebuilding our relationships in our local communities and how we consume, rather than it being this kind of very unconscious throwaway culture where we just buy and then throw away with like kind of no recognition of the energy, the materials, the people, the stories behind our clothes. I also love what you're kind of speaking about in the power of mending and repairing, because that's a very traditional way of being, which my mother mended all her sisters. She has 7 brothers and sisters, and she was making all their clothes, mending all their clothes. And it's actually very recently that we live in a culture where that's just not the norm. And I think it's falling back in love with supposedly more traditional ways of being. That's not even traditional, just makes sense. It's just a more beautiful way to be. It's so cool, Sojo, and I hope that you can expand very soon with it as well. And I think it's interesting hearing about bi-rotation and Sojo, because this is talking about kind of a circular economy once the design has already not necessarily been circular. So it's kind of solutions on how to expand circular economy and shift towards zero waste. But design is integral to the circular economy, because and it's what will transform it, because more than 80% of all environmental impacts on products are determined at that design stage. So while traditional design focuses on considering kind of what the experience is for the consumer, for the user end, circular design takes a much broader, bigger picture and has to consider not just the user, but also the system and what's going to happen when that user no longer wants the item. So Alice, I'd love to hear you speak a bit about circular production. Like, what does cradle to cradle mean? And what are brands such as Napapijri doing in order to design out waste from the system?
I want to pick up, sorry to throw back to you, Josephine, but on something you said, because I think this is a phrase that has really part of circular design and cradle to cradle, but is also just such an important philosophy, framework, manifesto. And it's just the simplicity of thinking about have to be good for both people. And yeah, as you outlined, Christabel, circularity is about genuinely sustainable and regenerative systems. It's about limiting waste. It's about, you know, thinking about the impact of these garments, these textiles, these clothes when they go back into the biosphere. Cradle to cradle, I guess what's really inspiring about that, as you also said, is that it's based on natural systems. It's a new design frame really inspired by nature. And to give you a tangible example, I want to talk about Napapijri's circular series. So this is literally an entire collection which is 100% recyclable. It's made from one material, and they partnered with EcoResolution. All right. All right, well.
I think so, yeah.
And that's like regenerated nylon. They have a take program. So after 2 years, you can give it back. It will be either made into new yarn or into new products. This is so important, and these kind of, you know, these changes make require like and dedication and commitment. This is transformation and made in 14 months, which is wild. Of course, it's but it is possible. And these are the kind of things that we have to do. We have to use our imagination. We have to reimagine our relationship with materials, with clothes, to really encompass both people and planet, people who make clothes, but also our ecosystems. And this series got the circular series, they got a cradle to cradle gold certification. And I want to read you out just what's included in that, because I do think it picks up on both thing of including both people and planet. So to get the certification, you have to take into account material health, material reuse, water stewardship, renewable energy, carbon management. I think those are really important metrics to really be, and it can't just be a few brands, it has to be throughout the industry by all brands.
Thank you so much. I think that's such an important point about also scalability. So you can have these pockets of really exciting innovation and creativity and imagination that's going on throughout the fashion industry, but it comes down to scalability, like how quickly can that become just the norm? And it's really, really exciting steps, definitely going in the right direction. This series that we're doing with Napapijri is called A Future Is, and it's very much about looking to the future and envisaging what our collective futures and cultures can look like. And I'd love to open this question to each of you to hear from you, like, what does the future in your imagination look like to you? Kind of what is your vision that you want to work towards?
Yeah, so I think for me, the future and the future of sort of zero waste fashion or sustainable fashion really is about watching like all these subsets of ways that you consume fashion sustainably or can engage in fashion sustainably, and just watching them all grow and flourish in different ways. So like, I think that the rental space is so incredible, and so is the swapping, and hopefully so is the repairing and altering. But I also think, and this is just a small caveat as well, is I know it's usually more expensive and you are still creating new things when it comes to sustainable clothing that's made new, but I also really hope that sustainable fashion can be a way for communities, women, and the millions of workers in the global south to actually like elevate in terms of like paying them correctly. Like, I don't want to just basically eradicate the manufacturing in those countries and eradicate manufacturing of clothing entirely, even though I know that's also an aim. So I just feel like the future will be all of it. So it will be the swapping, but it will also be sustainable, paying the workers fairly, new clothes in a sort of in a better way, and also repairing. I just think that the future is a really wonderful mix of all sustainable fashion, and I think just moving away from fast fashion, really. that's the aim.
Love that. The future is not fast fashion. Before we finish, I wanted to just invite any of you to kind of share a last few words about how people can support your work, or perhaps really integrate a zero waste and circular approach to the way that they go about their lives. Josephine, would you like to start?
Yes, for sure. So obviously you can find Sojo on Instagram. We have like a lovely community that we're growing there. And we talk about all things sustainable fashion. Equally, you can download the app, and basically once you start tailoring, you won't ever go back. The clothes will fit you wonderfully. You'll feel great. Start repairing your clothes. It's so easy.
Thank you, Josephine. I've got this huge bag of clothes that I've been meaning to mend myself over the years, and they all go like into this one bag. I'm like,
you'll never do
it. Mend it. It's not happening, so I'm really excited I can use Sojo. And Eshita, yeah, any kind of final remarks for people?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the way that I approach sustainability, circularity, zero waste, is really to buy less, to buy better, and to share what we have. You know, whether that's renting, lending, you know, borrowing, swapping, mentoring, do things, and really value these quality people that you are still enjoying yourself. And in terms of where you can find us, so that's Byrotation Official on Instagram or byrotation.com. We're free to download on iOS or Android. And if you're in the UK, please do check out the app. We'd love to have you as part of our community. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this live.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. And Alice?
I think I was disconnecting there, but I hope I'm still with you.
Yeah, you were.
So, yeah, I really would mirror what you've just said. Let's buy less and treasure what we own. I love that phrase, the most sustainable thing is the one that's already in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
But of course, we love fashion. Fashion is such a powerful way to tell stories about others and tell stories about ourselves. So if you are going to buy new items, support the brands that are doing incredible things, that are innovating, like Napapijri and so many others. That's really where the work begins, and being very, very conscious about everything that we buy. I think we have it in us, you know, we are able to really treasure and value certain items of clothing we have that have stories attached to them. So I'll finish by coming back to storytelling. I've said that word a million times, but I really am so passionate about it. You know, if you have your, whether it's, you know, a dress that's given to you by your grandmother, your mother's wedding dress, whatever it is, we don't throw those pieces of clothes away. So if we can reconnect to stories, if we can reconnect to human stories in particular, I genuinely believe we can move towards a future with zero waste. So holding on to that.
Beautiful, thank you. We lost Josephine really sadly, but Josephine, I'm sending you so many thanks for your time and energy and all the incredible work that you're doing and all the incredible work that you're all doing. I've loved hosting this session. It's been a real honor. And for everyone watching, next Thursday we're going live again. Not this week, the next week. I've missed many meetings by getting that being confused, what people mean next week or next Thursday. Anyway, next Thursday is The Future is Compassionate. We're going to be talking about how humans are capable of not only preventing ecological destruction, but also of creating thriving, compassionate, beautiful cultures together. And then the last one in the series is going to be The Future is Traceable. So looking at global supply chains and many other exciting things. So thank you again from EcoResolution and Napapijri. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.